Hello and welcome to After Effects Section 3, which is, or Lesson 3, which is animated text. So the first thing I'd like you to do is I'm going to go ahead and tell you or show you what you will be making in the long run or something close. Now note once again, someone has created the video asset file that has these trees going by in the background, okay? And what you're going to do, like everything else we did with After Effects, is you are going to add effects after it's been recorded. So let me go ahead and run it here real quick. So, you have it blurred out, then it has the road trip come in, you have this little compass comes in, an animated documentary, and then you have the car come in, and then the words or whatever. So the skills we're working on is create and animate text layers. So you're going to have multiple items that are going on in here that are all layered together. Stylized text using the character and paragraph panels. Now you'll note that our text is definitely different. You've got animated documentary, it's different. You've got road trip that has different text. This is kind of nifty with the I right here, directed by, and then all of these are different text um, fonts, right? Apply and customize text animation presets. So we have a lot of animation presets going on right here. Like to zoom in with the road trip. Um, so the way it kind of zooms in behind the one animation item, and then that right there, the bender, the way it wobbles in right there, that is preset. And the way it zooms in from the back, the way road trip, zooms in and then comes along, and then you'll notice your compass is doing stuff that's already been created. Install fonts using Adobe Fonts, which we're not going to worry about installing the fonts. Animate text using keyframes. Obviously, you saw some animation. Animate layers using parenting. Edit and animate imported Adobe Photoshop text. And using a text animator group to animate selected characters on a layer. Now, normally what can happen is you can import different animated mm, different styles, right? Different fonts, but you can't necessarily do that because you're not an administrator on the computer you might be using. So we're going to move beyond that particular one. Okay, so what I went ahead and did is I started a new file or a new composition. And then for the new composition, I want to, in a settings dialog box, I want to make sure the composition name is called title sequence. Title sequence. Okay. Then I want to choose NTSCDV from the preset menu. And what these presets are, once again, is they're a type of televisions or products that they can be used on. So what we're choosing is NTSC SDV, which is a type of TV setting, I believe, and that sets things to be a certain size and different things along those lines. We're going to choose the preset duration to 10 minutes, right? So the duration here is actually on 10 minutes. And once that's done, we want to go ahead and push OK. And let's get this started. All right, now you'll notice from what I did once the composition was actually started, I went ahead and I used a file and I want to choose import, and then I want to choose import file. Now, what I did was I located my assets folder for lesson 3, which is the background movie and the car and the compass and the credits. Well, the two items I want to choose are the compass. There's a compass there. And the background movie, which is right there. I chose control and then I imported both of those. After I imported both of those items into my panel here, I then went ahead and grabbed the background movie and I moved it down here. Now notice I'm in this particular composition, the title sequence composition. I moved the background movie from here down to this item here, and then I moved the compass.swf, right? And I moved it down here. Now, if you recall, the compass was the actual animation file that had the compass moving around. So at this point in time, I should have my title sequence composition, and inside my title sequence composition, I should have my background movie.move and the compass.swf. And let's continue from there. All right, so at this point in time, now normally we would go through the process of downloading a font. The font I used was MS Serif. You can use a slightly different font, that's perfectly fine. I'll talk you through some of the steps. So the very first thing I did is I chose the text tool right here. Boop. You don't have to make the noise. So boop is optional. And if you click over here, you should be able to then type road trip. Road trip. Now you'll notice mine is 90 pixels, right, to make it larger. It kind of looked a little odd. That's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. So I chose 90 point. I'm going to choose, now if I scroll down, I chose my faux bold, excuse me, faux bold. I made sure it was white, right? And then of course I type road trip, and now there's a road trip section. So once again, I type road trip. For here, for the text, I simply clicked here. I type in MS Serif. You can just type serif in, you'll get different choices. You're more than welcome to work with those different items and choose a different text. You'll notice there are a large number of text. You will not be graded on the text type. You will only be graded on how it modifies from there. Now there's a section where it talks about downloading the right font and then choosing how it looks and different things along those lines. Due to the fact that you have a lack of admin privileges, we will not be doing the downloading of the fonts. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, let's continue. The next thing I want to do with road trip selected or clicked on, right? I want to, right now, or previously, we were in the character section. We were able to change characters. If you close that, you should see another section called paragraph. In the paragraph section, you should be left aligned. We want to choose the center alignment. This aligns horizontal text to the center of the layer, not to the center of the composition. So this is to the center of the layer itself. All right, let's continue from there. Alrighty, so what I've done is I've done a few different things. So the first one is I want to choose layer, transform, fit to composition with. Now you'll notice my pixels are a little chunky, but I'm okay with that. So I want to do layer, and I want to do transform, right? So I'm going to choose transform. Oh, where's my transform option? There's my transform, and I want to fit to composition with. That's the first thing I did. Layer, transform, fit to composition with. You'll notice it then fits all the way across. That's the first one. The next one you want to do is view, and you want to do show grid, okay? And you want to do view, and you want to choose snapped grid. Now, what view, show grid, and snapped grid do, okay, is they allow you to see the grid lines. And what you're going to do is you're going to move road trip where it's slightly above the middle guideline, which is right about here. And then you'll notice I can just now choose my tool here. I can left click and hold on that. And then what it'll do is it'll snap the item based off of, it's just not moving it down a little bit, it's actually just snapping it. So basically I'm going to layer it right on top of that grid line. Okay. So now I went ahead and I did road trip, right? So if I want to turn those items off, I can do view, show guidelines, view, uh, mm, show grid, turn that off, and there you go. And so now it's slightly right there. I can also, okay. So now I've chose road trip. It looks like this so far. Okay, with the road trip selected, we have road trip selected. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure it's in the very beginning, and I want to choose, or I can use my home key to move my slider to the very beginning. I want to choose animation. Let's see, I want to choose the road trip, and then I want to choose animation here, and I want to choose browse presets. Browse presets. That's going to bring up this item here. Then I want to choose my text. This is in my bridge. I want to choose my text. And then I want to choose blurs. So it was browse, presets, text, and then blur. You'll notice when I choose an item over here, like blur by word, it shows a preview of what that would look like, such as foggy. Here's what foggy might look like. And what I'm going to choose is I'm going to choose the evaporate preset, right? So we've already done that, okay. Now we're going to return to After Effects, but leave Adobe Bridge open. So we're going to click on After Effects, okay? And let us continue. Okay, once I return to After Effects, I then moved my timeline, my scrubber, all the way to 3, and I push the N button, and the N button sets the end bracket of the work area, meaning it's kind of similar to inserting a keyframe where it stopped the animation. And then what happened is I'm able to scrub this back and forth and actually see the effects of that particular animation, right? All right. And if it didn't apply for whatever reason, you can also go to your items here and push evaporate, right? Double click on that and then it'll apply. That's what I had to do with mine because it didn't apply the first time. Now, many of you might be saying, when I looked at the final version, it appears invisible, then comes in, but when we included the evaporate, it was in and then left. So in order to make that reverse, we have to modify the individual keyframe. So I actually click on road trip and make sure road trip is there. And then I click the U button, or also known as the Uber key, right? And the Uber key brings in this offset option, right? Click the offset property name to select both of the keyframes. So I choose, there's my offset, right? And then in offset, I want to click on offset. And then once offset is clicked on, I want to choose animation keyframe assistant time reverse keyframe. So this gives me my range of the animation, right? So it brings those on there. And then what I do is I reverse those. So rather than being in and then evaporate, it is evaporated and brings in. So I just went animation, I did keyframe assistance, and I did time reverse keyframes. That's what I did. And now what happens is, if you preview this, it's out and it evaporates in. So now we're working on the opposite, right? So I chose opposite. Now, if I wanted to, I could probably take this and move it down some if I wanted to. So it actually takes longer to evaporate in, right? All right, let us continue from there. Then with a road trip selected, I go ahead and push end to move it to the end of the timeline. Then what I want to go ahead and do is I want to choose the N button. The first button was end, or just move it to the end of the timeline. Then I choose N to actually move to set the workspace where it closes at N again. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to animate with scale keyframes. All right, once I go ahead and since I'm working with the scale keyframes, I move my indicator all the way down to the 3-second mark. Then when I'm on the 3-second mark, then what I choose to do is I choose the S button. I choose the S button, and that shows the scale marker. Once it shows the scale marker, I want to push on this stopwatch right here. That's going to allow me to insert a scale at that particular 3-second mark. Now you'll note what I do is I move my my scrubber to the 5-second mark. After I move it to the 5-second mark, I went and then choose 100 and 100%. That adds another scale marker here. So what it's doing is it's actually scaling the text. So you'll note here where it's larger, where it says road trip, and it's 175 to 175. And then as I move to 5-second, it actually changes that roughly to the 100%. So now what we have so far is we have it evaporating in, then we have it beginning to scroll down, move down, whatever, shrink from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in an easy ease. And what that is remember when we were working with the ease effects on lesson 4 in reference to the currency symbols that we change the bounce, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on, now you'll notice I've already done it, but I've right clicked here. I chose keyframe assistant and I choose ease in, right? So I choose three at 3 and I want to choose easy ease out. So I want to choose easy ease out. It then changes it to a left pointing. And then I right click here and I want to choose keyframe assistance, easy ease in. And what happens now when I move between the two elements, you'll notice that it kind of is slow at the beginning and it speeds up and then it's slow at the end. So that's adding our eases where that's concerned. Okay, then after adding the easy ease, that will bring us to part 2 or part B, depending upon how I label it, of the video. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to seeing your products, and I hope you pick up on the skills. Thank you very much.